Hello, good morning, all of you. Welcome to our session. Today we'll be discussing the most probable 30 questions from the chapter Structural Organization in Animals, chapter number 7. The most probable questions that is likely to be asked either in the pattern or in the content. We expect this type of question this year. Okay? We are discussing the chapter 15, that is in our order, and in your NCERT book, chapter number 7, that is structural organization. Okay? Now, the questions are in the board. The junction help to stop substance leaking across a tissue. So, understand that tissue is a organized group of cells, and in an epithelial tissue, the cells are all resting in a basement membrane, and the cells are closely or compactly arranged, leaving little negligible amount of matrix that fills the intercellular space. So through that intercellular space, there is likely that a fluid will be, so for example, blood is flowing. Through the gap in between, you may have the liquid part of the blood leaking and reaching the other surface. So across a cell layer, this is constituting a cell layer. Across a cell layer, the fluid part of the liquid may be leaking out. How it can be prevented? See, the fluid is leaking out through the gap in between the two neighboring epithelial cells. If that gap is closed, how? Because the two cells are not at all separated. They are all completely fused by their plasma membrane on their sides. There is no intercellular matrix. There is no intercellular space, so that the fluid cannot cross the cell layer. Such a junction is called tight junction. Tight junction is also called zonula occludens. Why it is called so? It's a zone where the gap is, the space is occluded. The gap is prevented. There is no gap. That's why it is called tight junction. So that will be preventing the leakage of materials across it. Okay. Then, cementing to keep the neighboring cells. The two neighboring cells are held together by the intercellular matrix, and to make the attachment stronger, here on the two membranes, you are having some specializations. These specialized structures are called othering junctions. These othering junctions are of two types. What are they? If the othering junctions are in the form of a button, in the form of a single thickening on a spot, actually they are called desmosomes. So if it is in the form of a single spot, we call it as spot desmosomes. Okay, so for example here, whereas if it is present all around the cell, say for example this is one cell, that thickening is present all around, okay, in the form of a girdle, in the form of a ring, it is called ring desmosomes. Ring desmosomes. They are also given technical terms, namely spot desmosums are called macula adherens. Macula means a thickening, that's all. A thickening form for attachment, that's called macula adherens. And ring, if it is a form of a belt, we call it as ring desmosome or belt desmosome. These desmosomes are called zonula adherens. That's the correct word. So, othering junctions, simply called as desmosomes. They are correctly called desmosomes. And facilitate the cells to communicate with each other. See, you are having cells which are all compactly arranged, and for easy communication between the cells, there are very small cytoplasmic connections through which small molecules, ions, etc. may be exchanged, so that will be increasing the ease of communication. That is called gap junctions. Gap junctions are correctly called nexus. It is correctly called nexus. So what are the specialities? Remember, these three specialities are seen at the region where neighboring cells are in contact with each other. That is on the lateral sides. In the apical surface, see, on the base, you are having the basement membrane. On the apical surface, which is free, you may have some modifications like microvilli that will be giving brush bordered epithelium, or maybe having cilia. Okay, so such modification may be also there. But these three modifications are on the lateral sides where the cells are communicating with each other laterally. So they are all present in the lateral membranes. Clear? So that should be the order. Tight junctions, othering junctions, gap junctions. Clear? Now the second question. Connective tissue. Of course, this is the largest tissue in our body. Connective tissues are modified, or there are, we can classify them into two: loose, dense. These are all the packing tissues, whereas you are having some specialized connective tissues like bones, cartilage, and blood. Okay, these are all mesodermal in origin. What is the character feature of this tissue? Cells are freely floating. They are all scattered, not compactly arranged. Since cells are scattered, there is abundance of matrix. Matrix is made up of glycopolysaccharides. So, they are all mesodermal in origin with abundant intercellular spaces. That is the character feature. We will be seeing it in another diagram. That connective tissues are having abundant matrix. That is the character feature. Which of the following is the correct difference? Okay. Skeletal muscle. See, muscles are classified into these three based upon their attachment, based upon their position in the body. Skeletal muscles are branched. No. See, skeletal muscles are cylindrical, unbranched. Okay. They are multinucleated. That's correct. Why? Because there is no intercellular septum. It is a syncytium. It's a syncytium. They are all voluntary. This part is correct. They are all striated, correct. Seen in the internal organs is wrong. They are all attached to the bones. That is why they are called skeletal muscles. So that is wrong. Smooth muscles. They are all unbranched, spindle shaped. That is correct. They are uninucleated. Again correct. They are involuntary. They are not under our will. So they are involuntary. They are non-striated. That point is correct. Seen in the limbs. No, limbs are movements or organs of movements. There are skeletal muscles. Visceral muscles are seen attached to the internal organs. Now, cardiac muscle, they are all brands, correct? So, you see this row, this is wrong. It is also uninucleated. You can see that this row, all the three are correct. So, you have to take it. Okay. Now, there are also involuntary, but this is one wrong. They are non-striped. No, they are all having striped appearance. See, that is why this row is also wrong. They are seen in the heart. That is correct. But this row for smooth muscles seen in the limb, that is wrong. That is why these rows are all wrong. So the only correct one is box. Now you understand how you have to arrive at the correct answer? Good. Select the true statement. In columnar epithelium, what is columnar epithelium? An epithelium where cells are tall and cylindrical. Okay, and there's a nucleus at the base of it. The nucleus will be at the base. Such cells are seen in fallopian tube, in the lining of the alimentary canal, etc. In columnar epithelium, nuclei are located at the base. That's a correct statement. Okay. Ciliated cuboidal epithelium is found in fallopian. See, in fallopian you are having columnar, ciliated. So, ciliated cuboidal, that is wrong. Glands that secrete mucus, cerumen, oil, milk are holocrine. What is holocrine? A gland, so for example, it's a glandular cell. It is having the secretions. When the secretions are filling the interior, the cell itself is bursting. The whole cell bursts and it becomes dead. That's how. See, the cell is bursting, causing the release of the content. Such a type of release is called holocrine. It is called holocrine. Holo means complete. Whole of the cell is bursting. This is for the mucus secreting. For mucus, okay. But cerumen, what is cerumen? Wax, ear wax. Oil and milk. Milk is apocrine. Milk secretion. Mammary glands are or mammary cells are apocrine. Meaning when the milk granules are deposited or accumulated, only the tip of the cell is bursting. So a part of the cell is alone lost. The secretions are coming out only by the loss of a small part of the cell. That's why it is called apocrine. In merocrine, during secretion, see, the secretory granules are deposited and they come out without any damage of the cell. This is called merocrine. Mero means part. Only that secretory part is coming out, no damage to the cell. So, based upon the nature of secretion, we can classify glands into holocrine, apocrine, merocrine. Clear? So, all are holocrine is not a correct statement. Clear? Transitional epithelium. What is transitional epithelium? An epithelium which is gradually changing into another form. This type of epithelium will be having 2 to 3 layers of cells or even 4 layers of cells. The basal cell layers are cuboidal, but as they move out, they become more flat, and finally they become thin flat cells. So we are having one type of cell at the lower end and another type at the outer end. Cell is gradually changing, transitional, in between. Okay, so cuboidal is gradually becoming flat cells. These types of cells are frequently seen in areas which are all subjected to stretching. They allow stretching. Another point is that such epithelia lack a basement membrane. Okay, this type of transitional epithelium is seen in urinary bladder, ureter, etc. So transitional epithelium lack a basement membrane. It's a correct statement. Conified epithelium. What is conified epithelium? The outermost cell layers are filled with a protein called keratin, so that cells become dead and filled with this keratin, hard. Such hard outer layers of cells are protecting the body from mechanical and chemical stresses. Such conified epithelium are present in our skin. They form the hair, nails, hoof, etc. of animals. So, conified epithelium is found in the hoof, correct? Nail, also correct. They are also present in the outermost layer of our skin also. Is that clear? So, columnar epithelium, this is a correct one. Then 4 and 5 are correct. That's why we take apple. 1, 4 and 5 are the correct ones. Clear? This is the diagram I was telling you. It's a typical binding type of connective tissue. What is characteristic of that? We'll be having different types of cells, loosely arranged, scattered, with abundance of matrix. That is the characteristic feature of connective tissue. Okay. This is the diagram of a typical areolar connective tissue, which is the packing tissue. Areolar tissue is characterized by, see, we are having mast cells, macrophagic cells, fibroblast cells, collagen fibers, elastin fibers, etc., etc. They are having fibroblast, macrophages, mast cells. An areolar connective tissue is used for packing, filling the spaces between other tissues. They will be having mast cells, macrophagic cells, and the most important fibroblast cells. And very few, you can see, fat-filled cells which are all used for storing of fat. They are called adipocytes. Adipocytes. Storing of fat will be the function. Okay. Collagen fibers are present in rows between many parallel bundles of fibers. No, that is dense, regular. Fibroblast and many fibers that are oriented differently, that is dense, irregular. Osteocytes. Osteocytes are the cells of the bone. They are present only in the bone tissue, which is a specialized connective tissue. Adipocytes, storing fat droplets. They are abundant only in fat storing cells. Are abundant in fat storing tissues just beneath our skin. So, a typical areolar connective tissue is characterized by these three types of cells. Okay. Even if adipocytes are present, it is very less. They are all most important in adipose type of tissues. Which one of the following is the correct pairing of body parts and the kind of muscles? We have done it earlier so that this will be very easy for you. Now, iris. Iris muscles. What is that iris? Iris is the colored curtain having a opening called pupil. The pupil diameter can be increased or decreased with the help of two sets of muscles. What are these two sets of muscles? Let us see. Some muscles are arranged radially. So we call it as radial muscles. When these radial muscles contract, the pupil dilates. More light will be entering in. Second set of muscles, we are having muscles arranged in the form of rings, so called circular muscles. When circular muscles contract, the pupil become narrow, less in diameter, so less amount of light will be entering in. Thus, the amount of light that is entering into the eye is automatically regulated by these two sets of muscles, radial muscles and circular muscles. These muscles are called iridial muscles of the iris. They are all ectodermal in origin. Only two sets of muscles that are ectodermal in origin are muscles of the iris and muscle of the ciliary organ, which is also in the eye. So, iris, involuntary, smooth, correct? That is why automatically our eye will be having an ability to accommodate different amount of light. Okay, it is involuntary. Automatically. Then, heart wall. It is involuntary but unstriated. No, it is striated. This part is wrong. Biceps of upper arm. This is biceps. This is triceps. This is biceps. See, skeletal muscles are working in pairs. Okay, we'll be studying more in the chapter movement and locomotion. Biceps, triceps. Okay, when biceps contract, the triceps distends. Okay, it elongates. Biceps of upper arm, smooth muscle fiber. No, it is connected to the bone, so it is a skeletal muscle. Abdominal wall. In the abdomen, smooth muscle without striation. In the abdominal wall, it is involuntary. It is having smooth muscles, correct? Intestinal wall, again, smooth muscle with intercalated disc. Intercalated discs are characteristic of only heart muscles. Okay, so that is wrong. So, what are all correct? 1 and 4. The option is apple. See, in Periplaneta, that is cockroach, gizzard. What is that gizzard? That triangular structure, you can see it here. Storing of food. Gizzard is not concerned with storing of food. This is the grinding mill, grinding of food particles. So, 1C. Around that, you are having 6 to 8 hepatic CK, 6 to 8 blind tubules called hepatic CK or gastric CK. So, it should be 1C. Around that. But within that, you will be having 6 chitinous plates. That's why they are all capable of grinding the food particles. Okay. So, gizzard is grinding food particles with the help of 6 teeth, chitinous teeth. These teeth are made up of chitinous plates. Now, hepatic CK, second point. It is present around the gizzard, secrete digestive juice. That is why it is called hepatic. That is similar to that of our liver. Hepatic, secreting a ring of 6 to 8 blind tubules. Okay. Then what is crop? The largest part. Storing of food. So we came to the answer immediately without even going to such complicated options. We have arrived at the answer. Now, crop is the storing of food and it's the sac-like structure, the largest part of the alimentary canal. Uricose gland, it is a part of the mushroom-shaped gland. It is also called utriculate gland correctly, and a part of it is acting as excretory structures, so excretion. And tracheoles are the respiratory structures, that is exchange of gases, and it is having 10 pairs of spiracles by which they are all opening out. So the option goes to cat. In cockroach, select correctly matched pair. Nymph. What is the nymph? The larvae. Sorry, before that, a pair of testes. Testes are lying in 4 to 6. That's why it is wrong. Nymph, larva, which is similar to that of the adult in appearance, mold 13 times, correct. 4 metabola, 9 to 10 ootheca, each one having 14 to 16 eggs. That is also correct. A female can lay 9 to 10 ootheca at a time. Each one will be having 14 to 16 eggs inside. Ovaries, lying in segment 2 to 6. And a pair of spermatheca, 6th thoracic segment and open to the vestibulum. No, it open to the genital chamber or brood chamber. That's why it is also wrong. So only 2 and 3 are correct. Again a diagram question. There are parts labeled. Now go through the options. I have labeled what are all given. You can see it clearly. Which receives and stores sperm. This is the reproductive system of a female. And in female, we will be having the sperms received and stored in the spermatheca. That is the function of spermatheca that is lying on the 6th abdominal segment of a female. So, receives and that will be the spermatheca. Spermatheca is marked here as the B. 8 ovarioles. See, whenever a diagram question is there and parts are marked, you have to identify what are the parts. Then only go for the questions. 8 ovarioles, ovaries, they are all marked as D. Okay. Then oviducts united at the opposite to the genital chamber as a common vagina. This is the common vagina. That is marked as G. And fourth question is female gonapophysis. What is gonapophysis? The external visible genitalia. That's called gonapophysis. In males, the external genitalia is phallomeres. 3 irregular chitinous plates called phallomeres. So here it is the gonapophysis. Okay. That is the external genital visible part. So that should be the order. B, D, G, C. That is why we take it as the apple as the correct answer. This is phallomere that I was telling you now. External visible genitalia of a male consists of 3 irregular plates called phallomeres. Okay, so phallomeres are male gonapophysis. So it should be D. What is phallic gland? Phallic gland is correctly called conglobate gland. It is the conglobate gland that produces a viscous secretion that is helping in packing of sperms into packets called spermatophores in lower animals, in earthworm, cockroach, etc. The sperms are not released as we release sperms. The sperms are packed into packets. That packet is formed by gluing, by attaching. Okay. The individual sperms into packets. For that gluing, we need a sticky substance that is produced by the phallic gland. Phallic gland is correctly called conglobate gland. So, sperms are converted into packets called spermatophores. Phoro means carry. Proventricular. This proventriculus is gizzard. It is another name. Around the gizzard, you are having the hepatic CK. Aliary muscles. You are having 12 pairs of aliary muscles which are helping in circulation of the blood. So it is circulation. See, what is the correct position of the aliary muscles? This is the tergal plate and this is the sternum, exoskeletal plate of the dorsal side and ventral side. Okay. They are all laterally connected together by the pleura. This is the pleura membrane. In the pleural membrane, you are having what? Spiracle. And the whole cavity of the body is divided into 3 blood-filled spaces called sinuses with the help of 2 membranes. The dorsal membrane is called the dorsal diaphragm. You should understand this diagram is not in our books. Dorsal diaphragm. So the ventral one is called ventral diaphragm. So with the help of these 2 diaphragms, we are having 3 chambers which are all filled with blood. Remember, cockroaches having open type of blood vascular system. So we are having all the cavities filled with blood. So we call it as sinuses. Dorsal sinus, ventral sinus. The important organs are all viscera lying in this middle one. So it's called visceral sinus or perivisceral sinus. Now, heart lies here. This is the position of the heart. 13 chambered heart, 3 chambers in thorax, 10 in abdomen, and the heart is separated from the perivisceral sinus by means of the dorsal diaphragm that acts as the covering for the heart. So it's also called pericardium. This acts as the pericardium. Dorsal diaphragm is also the pericardium. And pericardium is connected to, now understand it clearly, the pericardium is connected to the dorsal chitinous tergum by means of certain muscles. These muscles are called aliary muscles. This is the position of aliary muscle. Aliary muscles are connecting the pericardium with the tergum. And the pericardial muscles are triangle shaped with their broad base. They are connected to the pericardium, and by the narrow apex they are connected to the dorsal shield. Okay, and they act as a pair of bellows, and by their action the diaphragm is moving up and down. When the diaphragm is moving, that is the dorsal diaphragm or the pericardium is moving up, the pericardial sinus, the upper cavity called pericardial cavity, it become reduced, pressure increases, so blood enter from this pericardial sinus into the heart through the lateral ostia. And when this aliary muscle relax, the pericardium is lowered, that is the pericardial sinus is enlarging in size, pressure falls, and because of that blood from perivisceral sinus enter into the pericardium. This is how the circulation is maintained. So, aliary muscles are helping in circulation. And colectorial gland. What are all colectorial glands? Colectorial glands are highly branched. There is a peculiarity. On the left hand side, it is almost in the form of a sac-like structure. It is in the spermatheca. Similarly, around that you will be having collateral gland, which are all more branch on the left side than on the right side. These collateral glands are producing a secretion that will form the outer covering of ootheca. What is ootheca? Ootheca is the packet that contains fertilized eggs. So, it is present in female cockroach, that is responsible for the production of ootheca. Ootheca is a pouch-like structure, just like our pencil box or pen box. Okay, and the outermost is having 3 layers. The outermost layer is actually made up of the secretions of the collateral gland. So simply we can say that it is responsible for the production of ootheca. So the option goes to box. Number of ganglia present on the nerve cord of cockroach. In the nerve cord, we are having a total of 9 ganglia. 3 in the thorax, prothorax, mesothorax, metathorax. And see, each ganglia is a paired one. Six are in the abdomen in segments 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one in the 7th segment, which is also the largest one. So, major part of the nervous system is lying in the trunk part, that is in thorax and abdomen, not in the head. That's why even if the head of the cockroach is severed, cut, cockroach can go on living for more than 10 days. So, 9, 3 in thorax and 6 in abdomen. Which of the following statement is associated with epithelium? We are having epithelial cells. Cells are compactly packed. That is the characteristic feature of epithelium. Outermost layer. That's the meaning of epithelium. Okay. With little intercellular matrix. Matrix is negligible. Cells are loosely packed. No, it is characteristic of connective tissue. It is highly vascularized. Remember, in epithelial tissue, blood supply is only for the basement membrane. No vascularization for the epithelium. Blood supply is only to the basement membrane. From the basement membrane, the cells have to absorb nutrients, oxygen, etc. It is supporting tissue. No, it is covering tissue, outermost, forming the outermost layer. So, only apple. Which of the following tissue has minimum amount of matrix? Now I told you. With negligible amount. In connective tissue, we are having maximum. Okay. So, epithelial tissues. Again, how are muscles classified? Based upon their location, we are classified. Based upon the location, we are classifying muscles into the skeletal muscles, visceral muscles, and cardiac muscles, not as striated, unstriated, etc. That is based upon their appearance. Here the question is on the location. If they are all associated with the skeletal system, then they are all skeletal. Now I understand why we are not taking B. B is based upon their appearance. We are classifying, we are giving name according to their appearance. Okay. And this is the shape, cylindrical, fusiform, branched. That is based upon the nature of the cells. Okay. Again, number and arrangement of spiracles in tracheal system of cockroach. Insects are having tracheal system of respiration. They will be having 10 spiracles. What are the segments? 2 are in the thorax. 1 in mesothorax, 1 in metathorax. And in segments, abdomen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is the arrangement of spiracles. In the pleura membrane, see, in one of the previous questions I have given you a diagram. Pleura. Okay, here I have drawn that spiracle, a slit-like opening. This is the spiracle. You get it? And these spiracles are opening to the tracheal system. 10 pairs, 2 in thorax, 8 in abdomen. Clear? And through all these 10, inspiration occur. They will be using all the 10 pairs for taking in air. But expiration takes place only through 2. That is the mesothorax and first abdominal. Only 2. Expiration is only through these 2. How it is controlled? There are certain specialized sphincter muscles at the base of this. Suppose this is the atrium, this is the spiracle. The spiracle will be surrounded by a chitinous ring plate. It is called the exoskeletal plate, chitinous plate around. It is called peritoneum. That was a question. Peritoneum. It opens to a chamber called the antrum or atrium. And at the base of that atrium, you are having a spiracle, the sphincter, a pair of sphincter. On the inner side, you have chitinous hair-like structures that will be filtering the air entering in, and the spiral muscles, sphincter will be, or the circular muscle will be helping in regulating the airflow. Okay, so only 2 are expiratory. So this mesothorax and first abdominal is used for both inspiration and expiration, and the remaining 8 are only inspiratory. So 2 are both inspiratory and expiratory, 8 are inspiratory, and there is no spiracle that is expiratory only, that is used only for sending out of air. Clear? Cells are lining the Malpighian tubules. What type of? They are all ciliated and glandular. These ciliated and glandular will be absorbing waste material from the surrounding fluid. Okay, ammonia and other waste materials are absorbed and converted into uric acid and secreted into this space. And by the ciliary action, they are all carried, by the ciliary action, they are all carried to the ileum and then passing through the colon. As the waste material is passing through the colon, water from it is completely absorbed so that it becomes dry pellets. So this is the single Malpighian tubule, which is the excretory structure, which are all made up of glandular and ciliated cells. Now this is the genital chamber at the posterior end of a male. Find out the incorrect statement regarding cockroach. In female, the 7th sternum is bowl-shaped, correct? And together with the 8th and 9th, it forms the brood pouch. See, the makeup of or the composition of the genital chamber is slightly different in males and females. This is the brood chamber or genital chamber in female. It is made up of, entirely made up of the 7th sternum, 8th and 9th sternum will be making the anterior wall. The genital chamber is made up of 7th, 8th and 9th. Whereas in males, you see, genital pouch or chamber lies at the hind end of the abdomen, correct? Bound dorsally by the 9th and 10th. You can see 9th and 10th forming the roof, and ventrally by the 9th sternum, correct? Here it is 7th, here it is 9th. Okay. The nervous system of cockroach consists of series of fused segmentally arranged ganglia joined by paired longitudinal connectives on the ventral side. They are all connected together by the nerve cord. Male reproductive system consists of a pair of testes. See, testes are lying on each side, lateral side, on the 4th to 6th abdominal segment. Okay, they are all present on the 4th to 6th. Correct. A characteristic mushroom-shaped gland is present on the 6th and 7th abdominal segment. See, this is the function as the accessory reproductive. A characteristic mushroom shape that is present only in male, which is present on the 6th. That's the correct one. That is acting as the nourishing. So, that also is a correct one. So, in females, 7th sternum is boat shaped. Okay, correct. Genital pouch or chamber, hind end of the abdomen, dorsally by the 7th and 10th sterna. See, by the 9th and 10th sterna. 9th sterna. Remember, in both male and female, there is no 10th sternum. 10th sternum is absent in both male and female. See, dorsally by, how can it be dorsally? It is tergum. 9th and 10th tergum, not sternum. That's why it is wrong. Genital chamber of a female, genital chamber of a male. The 9th forms the floor of the genital chamber, to which the rectum, the gonopore, as well as the opening of the phallic glands are all opening in this order in male. Clear? So, B is the wrong one. Epithelium without a basement membrane, we have just studied it. Like, it is transitional epithelium, where the basal cells are cuboid, the cells become gradually flattened. It is called transitional epithelium, which is allowing the tissue to or the organ to stretch. So, they are seen in regions where frequent stretching occur. That is in the gallbladder, in the urinary bladder, ureter, etc. Stretching. Which of the following tissue originates exclusively from the ectoderm? Ectoderm give rise to the nervous tissues, nerves, ganglia, etc. Muscular tissues are most majority of the 639 muscles in our body. Only 2 are ectodermal. I told you, the iridial muscles and ciliary muscles. All others are mesodermal. Adipose tissue, connective tissue, mesodermal. Epithelial tissue is developing from that tissue that gives rise to that organ. So, for example, if it is on the internal organs, the epithelium of internal organs are called mesothelium. It is mesodermal in origin. So, it may be the epithelium of the alimentary canal, endodermal in origin, because it is made up of, that lining is made up of endoderm. Connective tissue, it is mesoderm. Cuboidal epithelium with brush border. See, I told you that in epithelia, in the free surface, you may have some modifications, either in the form of finger-like structures called microvilli that will be giving you a brush-bordered epithelium, which is very common in PCT, DCT, etc. of urinary tubules. Okay, so duct of salivary glands. No, they are made up of cuboidal epithelia and proximal convoluted tubule. Correct. We are having brush border epithelia. You are having this free surface, which are all having microvilli. This microvilli will be abundant. That will be increasing the surface area. That is our function. Eustachian tube, the tube that connects the pharynx with the middle ear and lining of the intestine. It is having columnar epithelium. Of course, you may have microvilli, brush border epithelium, but not cuboidal. Here it is cuboidal. In intestine, it is columnar. That's why we cannot take it. So only two. Head of the cockroach is, I told you that. Like cockroach head is removed, it can go on living because head contains only two sets of ganglia, supraesophageal and subesophageal. Whereas the remaining 9 ganglia are present in the trunk part. So cockroach does not have a nervous system. No, head holds only a small part of the nervous system, correct, while the rest is situated along the ventral part of the body. That is why a cockroach can go on living for more than 1 week, even if the head is cut, removed, severed. Which one of the following is the most abundant protein in animal? Collagen. Okay. Lectin, insulin. Insulin is a hormone. Very small amount is required. Hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a protein that is responsible for transportation of gases present in RBC. Whereas collagen, abundant type of tissue present in almost all types of connective tissues, which is the most abundant type of tissue. Function of the gap junction. I have told you, gap junctions are preventing the leakage. See, it facilitates communication. Gap junction facilitates the communication between adjoining cells. The neighboring cells are connected together by small cytoplasmic extensions through which small molecules, ions, etc. can pass. That is the gap junction. So, gap junctions are facilitate the communication between adjacent cells by connecting cytoplasm for rapid transfer of ions, small molecules. Some large molecules also will pass through that. These are all small. They are actually called nexus. Nexus means secret connection, actually. These are the cytoplasmic connection between neighboring cells to facilitate easy communication between cells. Yes, in connection with the excrete Malpighian tubules, I have told you, body cells in cockroach discharge their nitrogen waste in the hemolymph. So, all tissues will be discharging their waste material into the blood, hemolymph, in the form of, see, sodium and potassium urate, carbon dioxide, water, etc. They are all released by the surrounding tissues to the hemolymph. Sodium, potassium urate, carbon dioxide and water. Now, these cells, cuboidal and ciliated cells, will absorb them and will be converting them into uric acid, water, sodium and potassium bicarbonate. So, mainly in the form of potassium urate, they will be converted into, okay, so they will be converted into uric acid. Uric acid will be reacting with this potassium bicarbonate and etc. will be forming potassium urate. So, mainly it is in the form of potassium urate. Waste material will be finally formed within the Malpighian tubules. Clear? So, the sodium and potassium urate will be released and will be converted into uric acid, ammonia, sodium and potassium bicarbonate within the cells of the Malpighian tubules and then eliminated. So, mainly in the form of potassium urate. They are uricotelic in nature. The chitinous exoskeleton of arthropod is formed. What is this chitin? Chitin is a polymer of N-acetyl glucosamine. N-acetyl glucosamine, which are all connected together by peptide bond. Okay. Chitinous exoskeleton is a polymer of N-acetyl glucosamine. Lipoglycans, no. Keratin sulfate, D-glucosamine, no. N-acetyl glucosamine, connected together by peptide bonds. In male cockroaches, sperms are stored. See, this is the male reproductive system of cockroach I have drawn. The testes lying in segments 4 to 6. From the posterior part, a very narrow, tiny vas deferens is arising, and the two vasa deferentia, that is the plural form, expand to form a glandular structure called seminal vesicle, where the sperms are stored and maturing. Surrounding this seminal vesicle, you are having the mushroom gland. Mushroom gland is here, surrounding. Okay, and they produce the secretions, which are all nourishing. The sperms are stored till they are released in the seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicles are surrounded by the utricular gland that pour their secretion to the seminal vesicle, and thus sperms are all maturing. By taking the nourishment, they grow and mature. So, seminal vesicle. The correct route for the passage of sperms in male frog. See, frogs are not normally included for the Neet model examination, but this is a general question. See, in human beings, we are studying the reproductive system, same type, but there is a slight difference. Sperms are produced in the testes, and it is taken by large number of tiny so for example, this is the testis. In the testis, you are having seminiferous tubules. From them, vasa efferentia. Small number of vasa efferentia tubes are arising. They will enter into the kidney, and they are all joining to form a bitter canal. That bitter canal is not at all present in advanced vertebrates. This bitter canal is connected to the ureter by a few number of transverse canals, and they will be all joining and will be coming out as the ureter. Ureter is actually urinogenital duct. In males, the terminal part of urinary system and genital system, reproductive system are connected together. That is forming a urinogenital system. In man also this is the condition. Okay, so they will be opening to the cloaca in frog. Okay, so that is the correct order. Which of the following features is used to identify a male cockroach? See, a male cockroach will be having, if I draw a lateral diagram, this is the genital chamber, this is the 10th tergum. Whereas for the 10th tergum, there is a multi-jointed structure called cerci, anal cerci, plural, circus singular, which is the hearing organ, sensory organ. And there is no 10th sternum. So you are having only the 9th sternum as the last one. Arising from that, there is a pair of small structure arising from the 9th sternum. This is the anal style. Anal style is copulatory in function, helping in copulation. So 10th tergum. Okay. Thus, you can identify easily anal or caudal sulcus arising from the 10th tergum, anal or caudal style arising from the 9th. Clear? The ciliated epithelial cells are required to move particles or mucus in a specific direction in humans. These cells are mainly present. See, in ciliated epithelial cells. These are all either cuboidal or columnar. In the free surface, you will be having cilia, and the synchronized movement of the cilia are helping the movement of something. But where are you having that ciliated in human beings? In human beings, they are present in the trachea, large bronchi. That is responsible for the movement of mucus. That is why this mucus is brought to the throat or pharynx. Why it is producing mucus? Mucus is acting as a trapping agent that will trap dust particles, pathogens, preventing the entry of pathogen into the cells. So it is having a number of important functions. That mucus is slowly moved. Similarly, you have long, that is tall, ciliated cells in the fallopian tube, and the fallopian tubes are moving the ovum, okay, towards uterus, bringing that uterus towards the uterus. So, ciliated epithelium are required to move the particles like mucus or ovum. And these cells are mainly present in fallopian tubes, not in pancreatic duct, not in salivary duct. Bronchioles correct, fallopian tubes correct. Bile duct and bronchioles, not in bile duct. Okay. So they are responsible for the transportation or movement of mucus here ovum. And coming to the last question of this chapter, see, these are all asked in the previous NEET examinations. Okay. Select the correct sequence of organs in the alimentary canal. Alimentary canal consists of three parts. A foregut. So, stomodeum, it is called stomodeum. A hind part, proctodeum, hindgut, and a midgut, mesenteron. Stomodeum consists of an esophagus that leads from the buccal cavity. Then esophagus is followed by the crop gizzard up to this level. Now the mesenteron or midgut. Then hindgut consists of ileum, colon, and rectum. So we will be having the order: pharynx, esophagus, crop, gizzard, ileum, colon, and rectum. Up to the crop, it is stomodeum. Sorry, up to the gizzard, it is stomodeum. Then midgut. You are having the midgut, then ileum, colon, and rectum is the hindgut. Okay? They are respectively called as foregut, midgut, and hindgut. Stomodeum and proctodeum are lined by cuticular lining. On the inner side, there is a thin layer of cuticle. The midgut or mesenteron alone is having no such cuticular lining on the inner side. That is why most of the digestion and absorption are taking place through this part. Okay, so with that, we come to the conclusion of the discussion of this chapter. Hope it is understood well by all of you. And these are the questions that were all asked from this chapter for the previous NEET examinations also. Okay, so I am winding up